Ready to attract more of what you desire? Join the Manifest Abundance Challenge. This free 7-day challenge teaches you powerful techniques to clear blockages, raise your vibration, and manifest miracles. Click on the show notes to sign up for free. Hello, friend, and welcome back to Breathe More. I am coming to you from my absolute favorite place in the world, Sea Ranch, California, which is a small beach community here in Sonoma County. This is the place that I've been coming to yearly, sometimes even more than once, as a place where I come for healing, to recenter, to manifest. It's a place that I'm looking to manifest where someday I want to have a house here. It's a place where I just feel so supported by nature, by Mother Earth. And also my dreams feel supported. And so my body and my spirit needed this trip. And I'm just happy to be able to talk to you from my happy place. So thank you for being here. It goes along with the topic, which we've been talking for the last few weeks about manifesting, because my upcoming Dream Bigger Mastermind is going to start in September. And also I'm wrapping up my spring mastermind. They have 2 more weeks with my guidance, but I'm sure most of them will be joining the next round as well, because we have had a lot of growth and manifestations, and it's important to keep the momentum going. So for today's topic, I wanted us to talk about and share with you a story, an experience that I had on Friday where I was in Los Angeles. I had to take my car in to get fixed, and so I had to take an Uber from where I was staying at down to downtown LA. This is a 9-mile ride. However, just like LA never fails to disappoint, it ended up being a 90-minute car ride. And so I hopped into the Uber just behind the scenes. Like, usually when I do car ride, like, I never talk. I go prepared with my headphones in my ears and with my energy being closed off, because I just want to be in a zone, or sometimes I have work to do as I'm in the ride. But this time I didn't have any of that. Like, I felt open. The driver was really friendly and chatty. He right away was asking me questions, and we just kind of hit it off. He started to open up and talk to me about his dreams. Like, he loves history, especially Los Angeles. And he was starting to point out different landmarks and also asked me, did you know this and this? And so I said to him, like, have you ever thought about being a guide, like to show landmarks? And he's like, yeah, I would love to do that. That's actually one of my dreams. I'm like, okay, well, why haven't you done it? I mean, you're already a driver. It seems like a really simple transition into now incorporating tours into it. And he said, I always have all these ideas in my head, but I never actually take action to manifesting them, to realizing them. And the biggest thing that's stopping him is himself. And when he said that to me, it's just a reminder of so many of my clients before they start working with me, where that is their biggest hangup. It is not if they have resources accessible to them. It's not how much time they have. It's not how prepared they are. The biggest block that I see over and over and over again with people is themselves, their mindset, the stories that they tell them. The other thing that he told me as well was that when he's talked to his friends about his ideas or family members, oftentimes they're not encouraging. They tell him that's never going to work, or you shouldn't waste your time on that. So first of all, when we share our dreams, our desires with someone, especially people that we care, it's such a vulnerable act, right? Like, our heart is open. It's saying, like, let me share this secret with you. Let me share this desire. Will you hold it with me? And it's so hurtful when someone that we care about can't hold the vision with us. And so I told him the same way that I tell most of my clients, keep your dreams, your desires, your goals, protect them. Like,
Keep them to yourself. Only share them with people who can hold that vision with us, because we don't want to be discouraged by other people already, as we're talking about. Like, we are our own biggest block. And so if we take that courageous step and share with people that we care, and then they tell us that's a dumb idea, that's heartbreaking. That's going to be so much harder to then take actions to starting to get momentum and to realize our desires. So that was advice number one, where I'm like, don't share your desires, your dreams with people who you don't think can hold it with you. Like, keep it to yourself. That's a big reason why I created my Dream Bigger Mastermind, because I feel like there is a need for a safe space where you can dream, where you can throw out some ideas, where you can workshop, these desires without feeling, or someone else making you feel like it's a bad idea, like it would be a waste of time. I never had that support growing up either, right? Whenever I shared my big dreams with my family, they told me I was crazy. My mom would tell me to not do that. On the contrary, like, she told me to keep it small, to play it safe. And sometimes I listened. And then other times it was like the fuel that I needed to prove her wrong, to prove other people wrong. So obviously we all have different personalities. And maybe for you, you're like, that's what lights me up, actually, when people say no, when doors are closed. But then for others, it makes it even worse, right? If already it felt so difficult, now you're just like closing the door on that desire and you're staying in the same place. So I don't want people to experience that anymore. Like, 4 years ago, I created my Dream Bigger Mastermind because I wanted to be a safe space where you can just show up exactly as you are with these ideas, with these dreams, and then helping you manifest them. All right. So going back to my car ride, my Uber ride with my driver. So once I helped him identify the biggest block, which is himself, I started to ask some other questions that I ask my clients. So what's the worst thing that could happen if you fail? Like, if you actually put this idea out there, you start to tell people, I'm offering these tours, and then no one signs up. Like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? He's like, well, nothing. Like, I'll just continue on. I'm like, exactly. There's nothing wrong. Maybe you invested a little bit into getting momentum, but at the end of the day, at least you tried, right? And you're going to learn from that experience. So it's also important to shine light on the scariest thought that your mind might have, these catastrophic thoughts that your brain goes to when you have a new idea, when you want to do something new, and your brain does not know what to expect. Your brain does not know what to predict the outcome is going to be. And so it gives you all of these reasons why you shouldn't move forward. Again, that is our own limitations. Those are our blocks. That's a lot of what also stops us from getting the momentum. So this is an important practice in the process of manifesting, where once you have identified what your desire is, and then recognizing, well, what's stopping you, and then doing the digging work and disproving it. So we did that, where he's like, well, yeah, there's nothing terrible that would happen. Like, I would just continue driving for Uber and move on, try something else. With that as well, like, just because something doesn't work out right at the beginning doesn't mean that it's failed. It's just information. We just have to start at one place. And I also reminded him, like, think of all the companies out there, like successful companies, Fortune 500 companies who started with an idea. Like, think about Apple. People laughed at Steve Jobs. Like, they didn't think that people would pay all this money for a different type of computer, to have it in their homes, that they wouldn't want it. And here we are, like, it's one of the biggest companies in the world. And along the way, they've also have had failures, quote unquote failures. But whether it was technology that came through or like another idea, in my opinion, I don't think anything goes to waste. Like, we absolutely learn from everything if we choose to. This is coming to mind right now. Like, 20 years ago when I first moved to LA, which is so wild to think. And I showed up with big dreams. I didn't have a job, fresh out of college, and I just wanted to go for my dreams, which at the time was like working as a TV host and being in the entertainment industry. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't know how to do it. I had very limited resources, but I figured it out, right? Like I got an agent. I started to audition. And along the way, as a way to support that career, I took side hustle jobs. Like I worked as a promo girl. I worked in marketing events. I later worked in casting. At the time, I felt like that was a waste of time. At the time, I felt ashamed. At the time, I felt like a failure. But today, who I am, this woman 20 years later with her own business, thriving business, I'm so grateful that my 20-year-old self was doing those jobs because I learned a lot. I got skills and grew and feel comfortable doing what I'm doing today. Like all of that is translating to being my own business owner, like having my own business. So I'm grateful for that. So whatever idea you have, it is worth putting it out there, giving it a shot, because you don't know what's going to come from it. So from there, going back to my Uber story. So we identified the biggest block, which is himself. We shined light on the fearful thoughts, like what's the worst thing that can happen? He was reminded to be protective of his dreams. And then from there, we went into practical strategies. Like what are some practical next steps that he could take in order for him to start to get momentum? Y'all, he had a 90-minute free coaching call with me. And what was funny is that through all of this, there was a point where he's like, man, I feel like I should pay you for this advice. And I just laughed. I'm like, yeah, this is what I do for a living. And he's like, oh, what do you do? You're a coach? I'm like, yeah, I help people manifest their dreams, like go from where you're at, which is stuck just in the idea form, and actually realize those goals. So simple strategies that we talked about. So again, his idea was to do this tours where he talks about the history of LA, incorporating maybe some like true crime and pop culture and Hollywood and all of that. So I quickly did a Google search. We did some market research right there. There's 9 companies in LA that offer tours. And so that's important, right? To study the market, like who else is doing it? What is the price point? What is their angle? What's going to make you unique? He started to talk about more of certain things that he's passionate about, which is great. Like we want you to show up authentically. We want you to be passionate, but you also got to think about your customer, your client, who you're going to be of service to. What do they want? And you got to make sure that you, at least in the marketing, present it in a way that makes them realize like, oh yeah, that's an experience that I want to have, or that sounds fun, or that is solving my problem. And then the more niche stuff, like specific stuff, you can leave it either just for the actual experience of it, or like what you're offering, or some of the lesser details, but you want to start out a little bit broader. And then we started to think about, okay, how can he get started in a way that, again, it's super simple and starting to get action. So already he drives for strangers all day long in Los Angeles, and he's very social. He easily sparks up conversation. He can gauge whether someone's into it or not. So he can give a little taste, similar how he did to me, with me, of the history and what he has to offer. And then he can also just present it, transition in the conversation of letting people know like, yeah, one of my business is actually doing these customized tours of Los Angeles where you learn about the history and Hollywood. And then he can hand over a business card. Like, if you're interested, you can learn more information here, right? He already has access to people. Then practical things like create a Yelp account, create a My Google Business profile, have people start with friends, like do a practice run, like map out what this tour would entail, how many hours. Are there different options for tours? Like, is there a shorter version? Is there a longer? What else can be included? Oh my gosh, it was just so amazing to give him like tangible steps to take in order to start to put into action this idea. His energy completely changed. He was more open. I could hear in his voice he was excited, like he could see it as a reality. And that's something that I'm really proud of. Like, I think it's one of my gifts that I have where I'm a creative problem solver. I think outside the box. I quickly get ideas in, gosh, I mean, I work with such a diverse group of people, like all different types of businesses, whether I'm proficient in it or not. It truly doesn't matter. I don't think, like, at the core, it's just like thinking about what's the experience that you want to give people, who is your customer. And then obviously you're the expert. I'm just helping you come up with a blueprint to make it into a reality. So then with that, I told him, like, hey, to continue this, then I promoted my podcast, Breathe More. I'm like, hey, I feel like there's still some more healing to do, some more mindset work. So I would encourage you to work on that. Do some journaling, meditate, like be really conscious of how you're speaking of things, because that has a big influence on that, on just like how we show up in our results. So take some baby steps, start taking action, and little by little, you're like providing more evidence for your brain that you can do this, that this is fun, that you're enjoying it, that you're getting a positive outcome. And that's how we do it. That's how we accomplish our goals, in addition to like the visualization and all of this stuff. So it was such a fun ride. And again, it just made me think of how many people just stay stuck in the idea, stuck doing something that they don't want to do anymore, just like living life for someone else. And I want to inspire more people like yourself to create an authentic life, to not let the fears, to not let other people's own projections and their own fears stop you from taking action. So my invitation to you is to think about, what is it, that idea that you have? Like, what do you want to do? It can be practical, whether it's like finding a new job, whether it's embarking on a healing journey. We just had last week, my Dream Bigger Mastermind reflect on the last 6 months and think about what they have manifested. And it was just fascinating to hear them reflect, where one person in my mastermind, she's really hard on herself. She's a mom of a young child. She has her own practice, very stressful, demanding life. And she felt when I first asked that question, she was like, I didn't even accomplish my big dreams. Like, I didn't do anything, and like beating herself up. But then when she thought about it, she's like, wait a minute, that's not true. I took like these huge, courageous steps where just signing up for this program in itself was a declaration that I matter. I dedicated for the last 6 weeks, every week, 90 minutes to myself, to being in community, to my healing, to my growth, to my manifestation. And because of that, then other habits, new habits, healthier habits started to form in her life. So she recognized that in the last 6 months, even though this wasn't a goal, she lost 30 pounds. Again, because she started to like make herself a priority, where she was more mindful of what she was eating, where she ended up hiring a trainer, where she was giving herself love and attention as opposed to putting herself last the way that she had been for the last few years. That is a huge win. I've had other people who also doubled their revenue, like their income, by manifesting a new job, by also like bringing on clients for their side consulting business. Like, I have go-getters in the Dream Bigger Mastermind. I have people who quit a toxic job and is spending the summer working on an organic farm that's like feeding them, that's opening up their world to the direction that they want to go in. They left the safety and just are following their dreams. I have others. I have a lot of soulful entrepreneurs as well in my Dream Bigger Mastermind. So people, again, who have just are making so much more money, who actually now have a business where before Mastermind, they felt that she's a yoga teacher. She's like, it wasn't even a business. It was like an expensive hobby where even how I spoke of it, like I felt contracted. I didn't feel comfortable saying that I had a yoga business. And she's like, now I'm proud of it. And I'm now attracting these high caliber clients. I'm attracting corporate clients. I'm hosting retreats. She's establishing herself as like the go-to yoga and wellness instructor in her area for companies that come to do retreats for their employees or members of organization. So she's really confident now and just we're continuing to up level her business and work on her marketing. All of that happened because they decided to take a risk. Honestly, for me, it's like, it's not a risk, but I know how our minds work where it's like, I don't have time. It's too much money. What is this really going to do for me? These are all objections that my clients have shared with us within Mastermind that they've had before joining. And when you're in a sacred container where you're actively working towards your dreams, so much magic unfolds. Where you were stuck for years, all of a sudden, it's just flowing. And before, like you didn't even know what was the first step that you should take because there was so much overwhelm, because there wasn't confidence, because there was a lack of direction. I break it all down for you. I help you make the decisions. I give you my manifesting blueprint where it's not just about setting goals, but again, like throughout, which is why important. The intention of this episode was to highlight how we are our biggest block and how we get in our way. Well, even if you do take courageous action and you like, I don't know, start talking about your business or you buy the domain for your website or you tell someone like, hey, this is what I'm offering now. Along the way, our mind is going to create drama. Our mind is going to tell you to give up. Our mind is going to tell you that it's too hard. And you need to know how to navigate those challenging times. So that's where the healing part comes into play. And that's when I help to guide you, or even my clairvoyant gifts also helps to facilitate, pinpoint real quick as they're talking, what part of them is rejecting that or feeling scared or unsafe or doesn't believe it. So to give you an example of how our calls tend to go in my Dream Bigger Mastermind is someone will be sharing how they're feeling stuck or they've been procrastinating. And I'll be able to identify, I'm like, that sounds to me like your inner teenage self isn't feeling supportive. I feel like she's rebelling. I feel like she's feeling scared of being rejected. 100% of the time, my clients are like, oh my gosh, yeah, that feels really true. So why is that helpful and important? Because then we connect with this younger part, this inner part of ourselves to help them feel safe, to help them feel loved and supported so that once again, you can start to take action and get back on track as opposed to staying in the avoidance, as opposed to staying in the negative self-talk. So it's really important to have someone to guide us in navigating all of this. So if you are wanting a new reality for yourself, if you have an idea, if you have a dream, if you want to change your financial situation, if you want to manifest a dream partner, if you're looking to get healthier, whatever your desire goal is, I want to help you accomplish that goal. We are starting our fall cohort of the Dream Bigger Mastermind in September. Get on the wait list so that you can be first to know when doors open. I'm also going to be offering a free event called Step Into Your Dreams, the beginning of September, where we're going to do some practice exercises, help you start to move energy, and I'm going to invite you then to sign up. But in the meantime, if you have questions, if you want to just talk about your dreams, if you want to know if this is really the right next step for you, send me a message. Let's hop on a call and let's get clarity so that by the end of the call, you can be feeling similar to my Uber driver who like now is clear and has some practical steps on what to do next so that the idea can no longer be an idea and it's actually a reality. I want that for you. I want that for your loved ones. If we were all doing the things that we loved, just imagine like how different the frequency of the world would be. And I do believe that there's a place for everyone and for all your gifts. And so I look forward to being your guide to making that a reality. And in the meantime, remember to keep breathing. Remember to keep dreaming as well. I'm sending you so much love and abundance from my happy place here in Sea Ranch. And we'll be back real soon. See you.